This is my third year as a high school teacher. All of my kids are wonderful. I truly mean it, but I would be lying if I said one of them didn't horrify me. I teach a creative writing class, and I get all kinds of bizarre stories. Whether it's sweet romances or thrilling mysteries, I enjoy reading all of them. However, nothing compared to the writings of Casper Harrow. My first impression of him was that he was a quiet kid without many friends. But when reading his stories, I was weirdly impressed that the mind of a 10th grader was capable of these thoughts. Everything he wrote was so detailed. I could feel myself at the scene, covered in blood, and the horrifying feeling that I had done something beyond repair would never disappear, even while I lay awake at night. As I was driving to work one morning, I decided to turn on the radio. The host said something that made my ears perk up. They were basically reading Casper's latest story, down to the weapon and the setting. Everything was the exact same. However, Casper's villain was described as a man with bulging eyes and an unsettling smile. The killer on the news was never actually found. As the school year continued, I started to notice some more and more similarities between his stories and the brutal murders around town. It was difficult to avoid them. Almost all news stations and radio shows would broadcast updates 24/7. But what I found the most strange was how Casper wrote all of his stories before any of this news was actually public. There's no way it was just a coincidence. It made me horrified to go to class and see Casper. Whenever we made eye contact, he would smile at me. Yet, I couldn't help but feel guilty as I brushed past him. Actually, guilty isn't a good word to describe this. In reality, I was afraid of him. One day, I stayed after school to catch up on a couple of things. It was around 9 p.m. when I checked the clock, so I decided to get up and leave before it got even darker. I have to admit, walking through the school halls is a lot more intimidating without the students chatting away. But what makes it even worse is when you're alone and hear one singular voice giggling. I sped up my pace, knowing it was way too late for any actual kids to still be at school. The voice had to be my imagination. As I walked, I noticed one room still had its lights on. Out of curiosity, I peeked into the door's window. In the dim lighting stood Casper, all alone, covered in red liquid. He turned around, and we made direct eye contact. Without thinking, I began to run away, not wanting to see what he had been doing. I alerted the security guard of what I saw and watched as he went in to check it out. I must have only waited 10 minutes until the guard came back out with Casper, still covered in blood. But I looked down, and in his hands was a bottle of red paint. Apparently, he stayed after school to finish his art project. I apologized profusely for wasting both of their times, then drove home, still paranoid of Casper and his stories. Later on, I overheard two teachers talking about a body found near the school on the night that we both stayed after. Casper even wrote about it for his next assignment, although I was sure that the school kept it under wraps to not scare any of the parents. Eventually, parent-teacher conferences came around. It was very interesting to see how the attitudes of parents affected their children. Yet, Casper's parents weren't what I expected at all. He had a single father, with big eyes and an unsettling smile. Despite this being our first time meeting, he seemed so familiar to me. As the meeting went on, I put two and two together and realized he resembled the man in Casper's stories exactly. It was all starting to realistically make sense. Casper only knew of these stories because his father had to be the culprit. I looked back up at Mr. Harrow, and he smiled at me. I quickly finished up the conference, then anonymously reported my tip to the police. Within a few days, his father was arrested due to all the evidence backed up against him. I could finally face Casper, knowing I'd won, but still, my hands couldn't help but tremble every time I passed by him. Knowing that he knew all my secrets horrified me, but it was also thrilling to await for his newest story. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. So goodbye for now, but not forever.